Okay, we're recording. Dang it, I talked about it. All right.
Every time. You can't help yourself. It's like Pavlov.
I can't do it. Okay, so special intro to the podcast, or if you're watching this on YouTube, it's just a special episode because you don't ever get to hear the intro of the podcast because I don't know how to edit video. So, special intro to the podcast today. I have the amazing and fabulous other side of the dialogue doctor, Laura Hum, on here. Laura, say hello.
Wow, you always give me such like a positive intro.
What
Like
How
I'm
else would
gonna
I
get to
intro
relate
you?
to it.
I've got Laura again, guys. Oh man.
I feel like that Eeyore is more my vibe.
Just
You
Laura's
bring,
here.
you bring me in with the Tigger vibe, and I can't live up to Tigger.
I lost my tail and I brought Laura on the podcast. Just kidding. Okay, so Laura's here because we have a special announcement to make. But so I'm just going to run through the intro to what we do every week on the podcast, which the first thing is talk about the Dialogue Doctor experience. So let me just say that if you're just watching this video slash listening to the podcast, you're kind of missing out because the Dialogue Doctor experience is a whole week thing. So you can go to dialoguedoctor.com and you can sign up for the weekly newsletter. It comes to your inbox Tuesday morning. So this video slash podcast comes out on Monday. Tuesday morning, you get the newsletter. And then Tuesday afternoon, a bonus episode drops, which is an episode where I talk about stuff that I don't really get to get into in the podcast. I just spend like 20 to 30 minutes doing a solo episode, expanding on what we talk about in the podcast. That comes out Tuesday afternoon. And then you get that by signing up on Patreon.com. So you can go to dialoguedoctor.com, click on the Patreon button, sign up there. It's only a couple bucks a month, and you get 4 of those episodes a month at least. And they're a lot of fun. They're great. And then the last thing you get by signing up on Patreon is access to the Dialogue Doctor Slack channel, which is super fun. Every Tuesday, we do a writing prompt and everybody pitches in writing prompt stuff. We write, we share ideas. It's great. And then on Thursday, Laura does a special editing prompt, which is super unique and really fun. Laura, tell us about your editing prompts. Since I've got you on here, I can just make you tell me about it.
I mean, yeah. So Jeff posts his prompt on Tuesday, and I never have any idea what it's going to be. So I'm always as surprised as he is.
Surprise!
And I really think the last couple of weeks he's been like personally trying to challenge my editing.
I have.
Every week it's getting harder and harder. So after I see the prompt, I start thinking about like how we would go about making sure that this is an engaging story for our reader that helps our reader feel really connected to the story. And then as the pieces come in, I try to read them just to kind of see what everybody's doing, where everybody's headspace is. And then I put together a prompt that's like a step-by-step process of how to go through and edit as if I was the one editing. So it gives writers a little bit of a peek into like the editing side of things.
Mhm.
So I think it's really fun, and the feedback has been pretty positive.
Oh, the editing prompt is definitely the best part. It's
Oh well,
like the dialogue prompt is fun, but it really is just fodder to learn how to edit dialogue, which
yeah.
is yeah.
So I
Yeah.
really like it. I love to watch people as they post their edited scenes and like talk about how it felt to
Yeah.
edit, because I feel like dialogue is one of those things that, like all writing, it really takes a second pass to make it great. I mean, a lot of people can get really good dialogue when they start, but when you do a second pass of it and you really think about how your reader is experiencing it, that's really where the magic can happen.
Yeah, that's super true.
Spoken like a true editor, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You're like second, third, fourth, fifth pass. The seventh pass is really where it gets good. Um, only an editor. See, me, the writing side is like one pass is great. One pass, get it down. It's all in. Publish. I'm just kidding. I did that once and it didn't turn out well. So so anyway, all that to say, Dialogue Doctor experience. Go to dialoguedoctor.com. You can get the newsletter. You can sign up for the Patreon with the bonus episode. Get on the Slack channel. It's fun, fun, fun.
Yeah. And
And
there's a
tell
community
that it
there,
takes the
right? Like
cue.
we're all supporting each other in our journey. And so join the Slack channel.
Yeah,
It's
it's
fun.
great. But that's not why I brought you on. I didn't bring you on to talk about the editor. So we have a special thing coming up. which I'm super excited about. And I want to talk about for a second how we got to where we are. So if you've been listening to the podcast, you or getting the newsletter, you know that about a month ago, I started talking about, hey, we're going to do a 10-week cohort experience where we're going to do kind of like a mastermind around dialogue. It's going to be 10 weeks long. It was like $800. And I was really excited about it. And we might do that in the future. What happened though was we got all of these notes from people that was like, hey, I would love to do that, but it's COVID. I don't have that kind of money. And it's COVID and I don't have that kind of time. I don't have 10 weeks to do. And I started to feel some pain because I'm just going to be honest. I wrote for, oh my gosh, the first 5 years of writing, the first 10 books I put out, um, zero money to spend on stuff. And, 5 kids, soccer games, basketball games, everything's on Saturday, zero time. So I would see these cohorts go up and I would always be like, man, I would love to be a part of that, but I can't afford it. And I can't invest that kind of time into anything because all the time I have needs to be spent writing and publishing. So when people started emailing me, I started feeling a massive amount of pain. So I was like, I've been there and I felt that pain and it sucks. It sucks to feel like, man, this thing would help and I can't do it. So Laura and I went back to the drawing board. We talked to all the people that signed up and we told them like, hey, we'll do this cohort another time. But right now we're going to try something different. We're going to go a different direction. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a mini conference. We're going to cut the price in half. And rather than 10 weeks, we're going to do one 4-hour mini con. It's going to be on June 5th from noon to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, because that translates into the evening for people in England, and it translates into the morning for people on the West Coast of the United States. So June 5th, noon to 4, come one, come all. And what's going to happen is for the first 4 hours of that day, the first 4 hours, for the 4 hours on June 5th, we are going to download on you a ton of stuff about building character voice. We're going to go through the character wheel chart. We're going to talk about all the different tips we know about prepping your voices to modulate, about building dynamic personalities, about designing a dynamic cast that's really going to engage your reader and that's going to set you up to edit/write your book in a more efficient way. So we're going to do all of that. And then after we do that, we're going to set up with you a one-on-one, well, 2-on-1, because it's Laura and I and you, consultation time where we sit down with your cast and we talk through all of the voices and how they work together and how we can improve them and really set you up for success. So, Laura, what are you most excited about for the minicon?
So I'm excited about two things. So the first thing is we get to do it all in one day, which means that we are going to talk through planning, writing, and editing all within a one shot deal,
Yep.
which is kind of cool because when we've done this in the past, we've really done a big focus on planning, and then we've done a big focus on writing, and then we've done a big focus on editing. But if you don't have the time or the ability to commit to that kind of length of thing, it gets really hard. You tend to get one piece of it or another instead of seeing it all. And it really, good writing puts all three of those pieces together into one package. So I'm really excited about that. Other thing I'm really excited about is we're going to spend a lot of time talking about, well, maybe not a lot of time, but a section of time talking about the translation from character's backstory to voice and how those two elements really connect together. And we've talked a lot about personality. We've talked a lot about voice, but I think this is one of the first times we've really talked about how those two things plug into one another to make a really dynamic character. So super excited about that.
Yeah, I'm excited about it too. And I think that is the hardest barrier to overcome when we're designing characters. We're really great at designing the personality. We're really terrible at translating that into active tools we can use to help us write and edit a voice. So that's going to be the focus. 4 hours, June 5th. And then I don't want to brush over 2-on-1 meeting afterwards. I did one of these this Saturday. So this Saturday I sat down with an author, and she and I went through her whole cast. It took us about an hour. And not only did we build voices for her 5 cast members that helped her kind of dream up, like, oh, this is where this book could go. These are all the possibilities for this, already building subplots just by designing the character voices. We also sketched out a 4-book character arc for her hero. And like, hey, here's how the hero needs to change just based on the personality you want from your hero and where you want your hero to go. Here's the 4-book arc for the hero, and here's how we're going to design each book to like match character change. So all that to say, that 2-on-1 session is going to be worth your time, because we're going to really set you up well. So in summary, I would like to give you the tools that I wanted when I was kicking off as a writer, when I was writing books. So we're going to maximize your time, June 5th, and we're going to get to work. So there's not going to be a lot of farting around on June 5th. We're going to get in and we're going to get to work. We're going to do 4 hours of intensive conversation and study around designing, building character voice, planning that character voice, tips for writing those character voices, and then tips for editing those character voices. And then
answer too.
I'm sorry. Yeah, and question and answer too. So you don't just have to sit and listen. It's going to be super participatory, question and answer as well. And then we're going to hook everybody who comes to that 4-hour session. We're going to sit down and talk them through we're going to sit down and set up a one-on-one with them, and talk through your cast, and try to set up your voices so that you can jump right into writing/editing.
And it's not just for writers who are in the planning stages. If you've got a first draft done and you're going back and you're expanding your characters like that, we talk about planning as though it happens first, but oftentimes we are so focused as writers on the story that the story comes first, and then we have to figure out how we fit our characters into it. Yeah. And that works. Like this is a great hyper focus on for those people as well. So really kind of wherever you are in your process, you're going to be able to take a ton of stuff away from this.
Absolutely. So if you want to sign up for this, go to dialoguedoctor.com. At the top of the page, there's a button that says MiniCon, meaning mini conference, and you can click on that and sign up. So go check it out. All the details are there. Is there anything else we need to say about it, Laura?
I don't think so, except okay. We're really excited about it.
Yeah, I'm pumped about it, and I'm excited again. Like, we're new at this Dialogue Doctor stuff, right? Like, we've been doing this for about 40 weeks now, and we're still learning. So just kind of stepping back and asking ourselves, like, when I was first started writing, what are the tools that I thought would really help me? And this is something that I would have loved to have. So jump in, go sign up. It should be a ton of fun. And we'll get to it. Okay. Last thing we got to do before we start the episode. This week's episode is with Angela Ackerman, who is amazing. So it's an amazing interview. But before we get to the interview, we have to have a moment of encouragement. So Laura, I'm going to make you go first. What is your moment of encouragement for writers today?
So moment of encouragement. So I started editing with a new client this week, and she is amazing. She's had like this amazing history and a career, and she's writing a book, and she sent me her first chapter, and she's got this amazing idea for it. And as you all know, because you've heard me talk about this before, I am not a classically trained editor. I have my editing knowledge and growth from working one-on-one with Jeff for 5 of his books, and from my day job where I focus on conversation and dialogue all day long. So I go in to meet with this client, and I'm like, they're paying me to give them feedback on this book, and I'm not a classically trained editor. So, I go into this session and I have all my notes, and I wrote them all in the margins, and I wanted to spend some time with her, just like getting to know her and her getting to know me, because she's new to the Dialogue Doctor community. So I wasn't sure how much she knew about me, but she got to us through another one of our clients that we work with. So like I'm telling her all this, and as like I'm talking, I'm like, oh my gosh, she's not gonna like my feedback. She's not gonna like my notes. She's not gonna like me, because she's super professional and she has all this stuff, and she's gonna want. And finally, like we got through like the preamble and we started going through the book, and I'm like explaining to her like why I'm making the changes and how changing the voice around really draws the character in and lets us feel what her main character is feeling, rather than like hearing what her main character is feeling. And at the end, she's like, oh my gosh. And she was just so excited about like what we could do together as an editing team. And I was like, phew. So my word of encouragement is like, don't doubt yourself because of where you are in your journey. Your point of view has value regardless of like what kind of formal education. I think sometimes we look to people who have a formal education, with different strengths and skills. What I'm learning is that people who have that kind of formal education have opportunities to grow it, not necessarily that they have a better skill or a different skill. They just have an opportunity that maybe somebody else doesn't. So my word of encouragement for the week is just be bold in your own skill set and know that your point of view and your perspective has value. So.
Nice. That's a great word of encouragement. Okay, mine is I really appreciate you sharing that. Actually, that was nice. Mine is this week. I at the end of every month I sit down and I do my like books, right? Because publishing is a business. Even if you're just doing it for fun. And it's I gotta say, for like the first 6 years that I wrote anything, I made zero money on any books. I think I had 8 books in the market before I started to sell anything at all. And part of that was because I was poor at the time. I didn't have any money for marketing, right? Like I didn't have any money for ads or anything like that. Part of it's because I didn't have enough of a series to actually entice readers. So they'd read my free one and they'd be like, nah, this is okay. And they wouldn't go on to the rest of the series. Part of it was because I can't help myself. And when somebody's like, you have to like follow genre conventions, I'm like, I'll show you. So that's something I'm still working on. But all that to say, I'm 6.5 years into this now, and it's nice to finish a month, do the books, and be like, yeah, I make money on this now. It's a really nice change. So all that to say, stay in there, right? You may not have the money for advertising. You may not have the money to, buy the stuff that's going to help get your books in front of readers, but persistence counts, and it does work after time. You just have to keep plugging away at it. So that's my note of encouragement. Keep going. Uh, the drips of water will turn into a steady stream uh, if you just keep working forward. Yeah. So
Well,
that's my word of
congratulations
encouragement.
to you.
Oh,
Like that,
thanks.
what a great feeling. What a great challenge.
It is nice to be like, yeah, people read these and they go on to the next book in the series because they like it, which is nice. So anyway, uh, it's always a nice note, and it's encouraging to write the next book, right? Like, yeah. And I took out my outline this week because I was feeling overwhelmed by the book that I'm writing right now. And I was writing a chapter and I was like, why is this chapter in here? So I did like, nothing is happening in this chapter. I don't understand why this chapter is here. So I took out my outline and I cut 20 chapters out of the outline. I was like, oh, look at that. I'm halfway done. So felt like I wrote 20 chapters this week. Cut. It was great. Yeah. Okay. So that being said, Dialogue Doctor experience, go sign up for everything at dialoguedoctor.com. Mini conference June 5th, 4 hours, and then a one-on-one, two-on-one consultation about your cast, working on character voices, all that kind of stuff. So go get that at dialoguedoctor.com too. And if you're on YouTube, now go watch the interview with Angela Ackerman. If you're in the podcast, just hang on for a second and it will come right up. Yeah. Laura, any last words?
No, I'm glad that I've never been on the intro
The
part
intro,
before.
you're the first guest on the intro. Usually the intro is just me. So this is
Yeah,
it's nice to have somebody else here.
that's fun.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like being here because I've been watching on YouTube, so I didn't even know there was an intro
I
until
have to
you put
figure
the
out how to edit videos because I do a lot in the intro and the intro is usually like 10 minutes and the YouTube people never get to see it because I don't know how to edit. I'll get there. I'm learning. It's
yeah,
slow.
you get
Yeah,
there.
I'll get there. All right. Thanks. Thanks for coming on, Laura.